My friends, every single day someone comes to me and tells me that they have been unsubscribed from my channel without their knowledge. Please make certain that you are still subscribed, and if you have not subscribed, please do so in our ongoing fight to stop corporations from destroying our myths. We need your help. Thank you. This Thursday, my friends, the frontiers of science were advanced in an epic way as Star Trek Picard Episode 6 pioneered a brand new form of sleep aid that, while painful, is definitely non-addictive. Yes, my friends, insomniacs now know that, in the event of sleeplessness, all they have to do is pop on Star Trek Picard Episode 6, and they are guaranteed to drift away on a cloud of sleepy indifference. How boring was this episode? Nothing of any importance happens until the last 5 minutes. And of course, that's when the stupid comes in. It's going along, and your chin is bruised from your head constantly nodding and hitting your chest with your chin as the powerful narcotic effect of Episode 6 works its dubious magic on your central nervous system. And you're thinking, this is a relaxing form of what Jean-Paul Sartre referred to as nothingness, when boom, suddenly they decide, hey, we better put some plot in here. Oh, bad mistake. Plot is one of the worst things about Star Trek Discovery and Star Trek Picard, and including any plot in their scripts is a fatal mistake the writers should avoid in the future. But we'll get to that here in a few minutes. In the meantime, here's a tour of that special dreamland we call Star Trek Picard. So we have yet another scene, kind of a recap of something we've seen before many times, of Narek, the Romulan lounge lizard, in bed with Soji, the human android, trying to get her to talk about her recurring dreams. He leaves without telling her his secret name, dangling it like bait and then withdrawing it. He will trade details of your dreams for his secret name. Offer void in Puerto Rico and parts of Hawaii. He leaves. Blondie, the scientist killer, lies about killing Bruce Maddox, saying, hey, I don't know, he just died because he was, hurt and stuff. And Picard nods like a senile guy falling asleep. So much for the investigation. And nobody questions how come alarms didn't go off and what was all the gasping noises of a guy being murdered. It's a pretty small ship, but no one saw anything, didn't hear anything. The logs don't show shit. And the emergency medical hologram that saw the whole thing isn't saying anything. Swell. Nice investigation, Columbo. Meanwhile, Picard says, we're going to the artifact, the wonderful cube of the Borg, because Data's daughter, that he never had, is over there. And Picard wants to save her from all the Romulans swarming on that there Borg cube. Though why they haven't killed her yet is a mystery no one really wakes up long enough to care about looking into. Then Picard limps into his study and gets all haunted and stuff about being turned into a Borg back when he was on an actual Star Trek show. We have some flashbacks. I passed out, and when I woke up, Elnor was again being dismissed and mocked. What an embarrassing, whiny character. I have made lots of fun of Lamolus, the Romulan elf, but dear God, it's way worse than I could have imagined, as the show makes fun of him even more than I do. He's awkward, he has a high voice, and everyone treats him like an inept, three-legged puppy dog with a knife stick, wearing clothes from a high school production of Bored of the Rings. It's frankly an embarrassment to watch him, though not enough to wake me up. I fall asleep and have a dream where Captain America is sitting on my couch, drinking hard and calling Captain Marvel a bitch, when suddenly I awaken to find Rios playing soccer on his ship. And I think I'm dreaming, and I blink and I slap myself. But no, Rios is shirtless and playing soccer on his ship, which I guess explains all the empty, wasted space inside the the Sharapova. The reason it's big and empty is so he can kick the ball around. Of course, it makes perfect sense now. Though why we don't have an emergency soccer hologram Rios appear to kick the ball around with him, I can't really say. Anyway, murderer scientist Blondie comes out of her cabin, sees Rios shirtless. He gives her a shot of booze from his flask he always has on him when he plays soccer with himself because he sucks at soccer, and it makes him want to drink because he always beats himself. He and Blondie kiss. They don't kiss because it's a mistake. They kiss again, and then they go to bed together. Oh, wait. Now I know why he didn't play with an emergency soccer hologram. It's because then Blondie might have slept with it instead. She was kind of out of it. Even being on this show is enough to make actors groggy. I swear, I'm not making this up. During this episode, Soji passes out, Picard stumbles groggily on the Borg cube, Raffi goes to sleep, Blondie sleeps with Rios, Narek sleeps with Soji. It's like somnambulism, the final frontier. Seriously, all of this sleeping actually happens in this episode. I am not making this shit up. Before falling asleep with Rios, Blondie tells him she feels, quote, hollow, helpless, lonely, afraid. Well, welcome to the club, honey. We Star Trek fans have been feeling the same way since Kurtzman decided to improve on Star Trek by turning it into the stupidest show on television. So yeah, I took a mini nap, then woke up to find yet another scene we've all seen at least 3 or 4 times on Star Trek Picard, wherein Narek, the Romulan lounge lizard, finds his sister who wants to sit on his disruptor till it stuns her in the woo-woo, in his bedroom sitting on his bed, bitching at him about sleeping with Soji, in a kind of Reader's Digest version of Jaime and Cersei in Game of Thrones. And after rolling my eyes so hard I got dizzy and passed out yet again, when I woke up, Harvey told me that he had said, once again, he's only toying with Soji to find out where she came from so's the Romulans can go and destroy all of her kind. Narek also fiddles around with a puzzle box just to show that he can. It looks a bit like the lament configuration stolen from Pinhead in Hellraiser, but the only lament here is that the cube, when it opens, doesn't drag the entire Star Trek Picard series to hell. That was a bummer. So Picard needs to get on the Borg ship. He learns there's a Borg reclamation project allowed on the Borg cube, so he needs credentials to get aboard. Drunk Raffi, puffing on a vape, sits her skeezy addict ass down at the console and calls in a favor with an old admiral friend of hers, a chick of course, to get Picard 24 hours diplomatic clearance to be on the Borg cube, mainly by insulting Picard to the admiral and calling him, quote, ego and rampaging id. Yes, drunk Raffi says of Picard, you know him, all ego and rampaging id. Can you believe that shit? Have any of these so-called writers ever watched a single episode of Next Generation? Is there anyone in the fandom on the planet not employed by that hack Kurtzman who would remotely describe Picard as ego and rampaging id? Picard was so repressed and formal he had to put on a tuxedo just to fart. I don't think he even had an id, and his ego was restricted to the arrogance of insisting the computers serve him his Earl Grey hot. That was Picard's idea of a Vegas vacation. That was Picard living the dream. More proof this jail clown is not the Picard we all knew and loved. And more proof the idiots writing this garbage know nothing about Jean-Luc Picard, a man of dignity who only ever showed his id when it was an ID at a Star Trek checkpoint. How embarrassing this entire misbegotten affair is. So Narek tells Soji that his classified files show all of her calls to Mom last only 70 seconds exactly. Soji calls Mom to test that out and falls asleep on Mom. This makes her suspicious. I fell asleep 70 seconds in. So Soji starts testing herself, and the computer keeps telling her that she's 37 months old, and she realizes her whole life is a fraud, which is something we all knew since the first episode. So once again, shown stuff we already knew again and again, like Soji is really an android brain in a human body, and Raffi is a drunk, and Narek wants to kill Soji but kind of loves her, and Narek and his sister are incestuous, and Picard was a Borg. It's all unbearably boring, and so I fall asleep again and dream I see a UFO out the window, but don't realize that the probing pain is really just from watching Star Trek Picard. Then I wake up, realize I'm watching Star Trek Picard, and feel even more like an idiot. So after needing to get diplomatic clearance to get right through the tight Romulan security on the Borg cube, Picard just beams over. Yep, just beams right over, without any kind of screening, any security reception from the Romulans, no official check-in. Not even sure why he even needed clearance at all if he can just beam on over, but what the hell? It's Kurtzman Trek, right? He meets Hugh over there, and it's kind of a heartwarming few seconds of reunion between them, but then the suck sets right back in. You notice all the ex-Borg have scars and implants still, and you have to wonder, how come Picard doesn't? I mean, shit, the tech they used to make Picard look completely normal again is like 15 years out of date, so why the hell does everyone else look so bad? More plot holes from the mind that brought you sonar in space. So anyway, Picard staggers under the weight of intense boredom, almost passing out before Hugh wakes him up and they tour the cube. So while Hugh is showing Picard the cube, I fall asleep. Harvey tells me when I wake up that Soji cried about maybe being only 37 months old to Narek, the Romulan lounge lizard. And that's what she called him, by the way. That's official on the show. I didn't make that up. And so he offers to help her remember with a highly classified Romulan meditation technique forbidden to share with Outworlders. But he does anyway. And that special technique consists of him telling her to remember the shit I want you to remember, while walking her around a little maze on the floor, outlined by candles. It's basically asking questions with candles. I shit you not. Under this probing and incisive therapy, she remembers everything. And she remembers seeing herself on a table disassembled under a skylight that coincidentally shows her exact location as being under two blood-red moons with a sky filled with constant lightning. Wow. How convenient this one memory would exactly reveal very distinctive place she came from. Zowie, what are the odds? Pretty good if you're dealing with the hacks at Bad Reboot and Suckrit Hideout. So then he says, thank you very much. You're artificial. You're not real. Goodbye. Bye-bye. He triggers the puzzle box. He steps out of the room and locks her in, and poison gas begins filling the room from the now open puzzle box. Gee, since the Romulans know she is super strong, despite having a normal human body that is not an android body, the writers keep forgetting that, and that when she gets triggered, she gets dangerous, rather than kill her with an instantly fatal injection or break her neck with his Romulan strength or something like that, the Romulan lounge lizard leaves a slow death trap for her to give her time to get triggered and punch her way through the floor and into another deck. Narek then goes, uh-oh, puts out an alert for her. Everyone tracks her as she runs between decks, which leads to another plot hole. Why don't they just lock onto her and beam her ass out of there, into deep space, or into a stronger brig? The whole thing is brain death of the lowest caliber, and it ends with Picard and Soji walking through a transporter that can beam people 40,000 light years away. And Elnor stays behind to hold off a shitload of armed Romulans with his nightstick. They conveniently cut away from him before we see how Elnor can beat phasers with a sword. And so the stupidity at the end of this episode is deplorable and frankly frightening. I fear for the future of cognition watching this excrement. Tune in next week for a cameo from Riker and Troy, which will ultimately mean nothing. Star Trek Picard sucks, and nothing in these last 4 episodes will change a damn thing. Ha 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 ha.